We continue with the McGregor-Mayweather. It's going to be all week long. It's going to be all next week too, until we get to Canelo Alvarez versus Gennady Golovkin, in which, look, I'm talking about a fight that I think is going to also be amongst, I'd say, more competitive, but in terms of hype, should live up to it. It's just not gonna
okay. No, yeah, it should definitely live up to its hype. It's good. You've got two warriors who throw first and think later. Take that with a pinch of salt. Of course they think, but when you're looking at it from a step back, it's not like they just run in there and start windmilling each other. But it's going to be a very intriguing boxing match from the fact that they will stand toe to toe with each other, and both of them have just enormous power.
It's just scary because Golovkin smiles at you when he gets hit.
I know he likes it.
It's just weird.
I like the pain.
Again, my favorite thing in the world was the Golovkin, like when he first started fighting the US, he didn't know the language that well. So they'd ask him, Kellerman would get in there. Triple G, what was your strategy going into this fight, and did you stick to your game plan leading up to the knockout in the 6th? I will fight anyone. Okay, thanks man, we'll see you in a couple hours. Every single answer exactly the same. I will fight everybody.
And he will.
Okay, man,
that's the thing.
Welcome to the country. It's a free country. You can fight whoever you want. In terms of McGregor-Mayweather, we're going to throw you 3 elements in order. Actually, punches landed, punches thrown, and the scorecard. This has to be taken with some more context, but it is impressive, to say the least, that those, including myself, who gave McGregor a 0.1% chance and at one point was contemplating, would he land a punch? And when we discussed this fight happening before it did, this is a joke, wasn't a joke. Now Mayweather beat him badly, but it still wasn't a joke. Then also we have the percentages, because look man, rounds 1 and 2, Francis and I have of course been watching back Mayweather fights. You should have known, game plan wise, Mayweather was going to sit back and just learn what McGregor was going to do. And there were some moments in that fight, 3 specifically, that I thought McGregor showed something that got me out of my seat. The uppercut that he landed. Yeah. Name the last 10 fighters who've been able to land that kind of uppercut with that precision and enough on it to snap Mayweather's head back. 2, switching from an orthodox to a southpaw stance in a blink of an eye and landing 2 forward jabs. I was like, okay, not much on the jabs, but still, it caught me off guard. It caught Mayweather off guard. And then lastly, just his ability in that 8th round where everything started to turn up at that point. So rounds 4, 5, and 6, which I handedly gave to Floyd Mayweather because he started to really come forward and hit him with power. He started to explode on Conor at points. So we haven't seen that Floyd. He didn't do it against Pacquiao. He didn't go against Berto. And he didn't do it against even Maidana. And that was the first time around. That was a great fight, or a better fight. The 8th round, McGregor had something left in the tank, and he used it to potentially win that round. Now the scorecard the judges had, no scorecard. Judges, no. Judges thought judges are writing this down, going, if we give this fight to McGregor, we don't have jobs anymore.
Yeah,
Francis, we've been through all of it. After everything's said and done, you watch back the fight, you look at these statistics. Do you think that we all undersold McGregor? Not you, but we, as in, I guess, the people who never believed in him in the first place.
No, I don't know. It's confusing because I wouldn't even humor the idea that he wouldn't land a punch. That whole Max Kellerman, let's just like go as far as possible to take extremely. Think he wouldn't land one punch? Like that's ridiculous. I've seen Floyd Mayweather being hit. I said that. I know that, but I'm just saying like it was a silly argument to begin with, and I just thought that at 40 years of age, regardless of how sharp he looked a lot of the time, the unorthodox stance of Conor McGregor and the fact that he'd never fought against someone who was so unconventional was going to at least give McGregor an opportunity to try to do something. Now, this is going to be surprising for me because I would have used this clip, you would have thought, to just praise McGregor and how he was able to go 10 rounds with arguably the greatest boxer of all time, or one of them. But I'm going to say that you can just put to bed the whole thought that Mayweather would go through his career without anyone ever wondering how he could take a punch fully on the chin, because he just proved that he's got an absolute iron chin, because Conor McGregor hit him with a really tough uppercut and it didn't startle him. Like Floyd Mayweather, it's not like he has anything to prove in his life, and I'm not a Mayweather fan, and I've told you this before, but people always have the argument, oh, what if Pacquiao caught him one flush? Like, what would really happen? And people who made the argument about Conor McGregor winning was all, and I sent out the meme, was like, what if Conor lands that left? Well, he landed a pretty strong right hand on his chin, and it didn't even startle Floyd Mayweather. So that's, just put it to bed. The guy is an amazing defensive fighter, and even when you do catch him, he's still got the jaw to be able to power forward and show his dominance. So you can put that to bed. I didn't think I'd be on here defending Floyd's status in that way, but he just kind of made everyone aware that he's in the position because he deserves it, and that's why.
Okay, those who, first of all, thank you Reddit and the Reddit boxing thread. For one, for having all the streams of the fight.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure if you've seen these numbers. They believe over 3 million streamed it off of websites. That's not including the roughly 2 million I estimate streamed it on Instagram, and add another 2 for those who had streamed it on Twitter. Pay-per-view numbers are probably going to hit about 5 or 5.5 million pay-per-views bought. So you're still talking about some ridiculous numbers for a fight that, of course there's the few, like Dale Earnhardt Jr. tweets out, saved a hundo. Thank you though, man, like you of all people have $100 like to throw on a fight of all things. Besides, you could have streamed it. So, do you want to talk about testing Mayweather's chin? Just looking back through, Victor Ortiz tested his chin, nailed him a few times. Miguel Cotto tested his chin. Miguel Cotto, by the way, won. It's Kamagai on Saturday. He fought in California.
It was good for 5 people to turn out. Really
I feel terrible because Cotto comes back after this spell off and he picked the worst possible, maybe not him, but his promoter.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think he picked it.
You had to have thought that once they announced that fight, you got to push it a week, man. Like Cotto can draw in an audience, and I just thought it was, just no one's going to remember that fight.
Yeah.
Mayweather's chin has been tested multiple times, and McGregor got some clean shots off on him. I thought one of the points that Britain made was that once he exerted that energy in those first 2-3 rounds, McGregor did, and man, did he come out swinging, and he did. He came out aggressive, and he pinned him against those ropes at one point, and that's where you get to see Mayweather's defensive side. It's why some judges didn't give rounds 2 and 3 to McGregor, because they're thinking these are getting blocked. A lot of those jabs in 4, 5, and 6, the rounds that Mayweather won handedly, especially with Mayweather coming forward, they weren't snapping his head back. They were just landing, but then again, it's still points. In some way, they're still getting considered into what percentage is taken and landed. Now, there's different rules for UFC scoring and boxing scoring. The UFC, in some rounds, will promote, or some scorecards promote the idea of how much damage is being done. Boxing, depending on the guy who's scoring the fight, might not consider it. Some might want a more technically gifted type of scoring, and that it depends. I think that's the guy who had 87-83 for Mayweather, opposed to the judge who had 89-81, which I thought was a little bit out there. 89-81. Now, on top of all of this, the end of the fight, which we talked about in the live stream, which you can watch, is them calling the fight. And I think I said to you immediately, I said, like, look, man, I don't think McGregor was ever going to hit the mat. I think McGregor would have died standing up against the ropes before he ever would have hit the mat. So I'm somebody who says, no, man, stop the fight. Premature stoppages, always better than letting it go one punch too far. Having said that, at what point was the ref going, my God, please just go down, please go down, please go down. And then lastly, the hammer fist. There was a lot of illegal shit that McGregor was throwing with the hammer fist and some from behind. I thought the ref did a pretty damn good job of not really calling for like disqualifications, because that would have really pissed off everybody in their seats. No,
you can't charge, if he did that, he would have had to refund a lot of $100. And to go back, I think the first point you made a little bit back was the people illegally live streaming it. Well, when it's $19, £19 in the UK, and then it's $100 out here, like, can you really blame people for going out if they want to illegally stream it when you're charging $100? I mean, no, not at all. You shouldn't be, like, I was thinking anywhere in the realm of 50 to 80. Yeah, I get it, it's a super fight, but still, $100 was always obscene in my opinion. Now, the next point was, I was angry at the time, and I was like, oh my God, just let it go, because you're just used to, like, when you're trained to watch a UFC fight with Conor McGregor in it, you're expecting that it's either going to be a clear knockout and the referee interjects when someone's been pounded on the ground. And I mentioned that in the live stream. Jason and I sat, what, 7 rows back watching Wonder Boy and Tyron Woodley as Wonder Boy was pounded on the ground and wasn't putting up much of a defense, but was still managing to move his body away, and they allowed it to go on. It ended up being a draw. Conor McGregor, as we know, gets really sloppy when he's fatigued, and his body doesn't look as if it's going to be able to maneuver in a certain way. And at that time, again, a few whiskeys deep and my fandom for McGregor coming through, I thought he still was showing signs of being responsive and trying to move his head out of those punches. And I was one that said he stopped it too early. I watched it back the next morning, and I remember I was like, I never remembered those punches being as flush, because Floyd Mayweather caught him 3 flush punches. Like the second punch, McGregor's hands weren't even close to being up. His hands were down by his waist and he was walking backwards, and Mayweather didn't have to do anything special. He had to just shape up and launch everything he had in that one right hand, and McGregor had no response to it. It fell back. He could see, as Britton always said, it's those punches that you can't see that are doing the damage. Well, Conor McGregor saw those punches and still couldn't respond in quick enough time. And Mayweather wasn't doing anything really at that point to shape it so that he could throw him off. He wasn't trying to throw a left and a right. It was just, I'm going to throw a clean right, and it's catching you in the face. And at that point, I realized, okay, Francis, it was a whiskey talking. You just wanted him to go down.
I think that there's some really bad takes out on the internet about it didn't live up to the fight. It was a circus act. It was all this. In the end, it was more competitive at times, especially in that, again, that 8th round to me was everything that you could have wanted out of that specific fight.
Yeah.
And I think it's good for the sport of boxing. I think it was good for McGregor's career going forward. I think that McGregor coming back to the UFC is the right move, and we'll do some more stuff on that at another point because this clip's going to go on too long. As for Mayweather, he's 40, he's 50-0, 40 years old, he's 50-0. Of course, some people said this morning, he looked like a shell of his former self. If he tried to fight Canelo Alvarez right now, he'd get his ass kicked. No shit. Like, Canelo's in the prime of his career.
Yes.
He's the title holder in that division. Now, they also said if McGregor were to, this is sports radio this morning, 710 I think it was, which I believe is ESPN radio. If McGregor were to fight and just switch to become a full-time boxer, in his weight class you have Errol Spence Jr., who's one of the 3, 4, 5 best boxers in the world, Canelo Alvarez, Gennady Golovkin, and he would die fighting any of them. Again, it wasn't about him fighting or boxing as the next stage. It wasn't about him fighting Canelo Alvarez right now. That seems like insanity because it could be really dangerous.
Yes.
It was about taking on the guy with all the money. The person whose name is associated with Vegas still as his city, in Floyd Mayweather, and the money belt, and the promotion going into it. So, no, man, McGregor ain't gonna fight Golovkin next. And if he does, by all means, I'll pay $100 to watch it.
So why?
I don't want to see him die. I don't want to see anybody die. But the point I'm trying to make too is if he comes back to the UFC, I think this makes McGregor a more well-rounded fighter. So there are fights to be made. Diaz 3, Khabib Nurmagomedov.
I know, I missed you here to pronounce that. Britton and I were talking and I was like, he could fight Khabib / Jason will pronounce the second name.
He can fight. I think that would be an interesting fight. Can Khabib make weight or show up on time? Any of those things. There's a lot of questions going into it. I don't see McGregor losing against Diaz a 3rd time. I think he's gotten better all around as a fighter. I think these things train him.
Yep.
And it's a different type of training in general. And we talked about his conditioning at another point, and Cenk actually had a video on it with an interesting take because he says in the middle of the video, oh, I know what you're saying about me. Like, you're not fighting McGregor. You get your ass kicked. You get your ass kicked, you fat man. You get your ass kicked. That's what Cenk said about himself. Just going like, is this the whole video?
And it's funny because as much as I love Cenk's takes on things, like on this,
I knew
he is exactly the tweet that I sent out before the fight.
Everyone's a boxing expert.
I said 6 hours until everyone becomes a boxing expert. That's Cenk. He will watch something, he will become excited about it. Same with the World Cup, is he'll watch it and then all of a sudden he'll be like, why can't they just do this? I'm like, oh, 25 minutes in, expel. So I expected this, and then you just take it with a pinch of salt. I liked it.
Wait for the Canelo fight, and that will be even more experts.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it was a hell of a fun weekend, and I got to say, this will make sports so much fun in general. So Francis and Maxwell for all your McGregor Mayweather memes, tweets. He's a meme. He's becoming a meme specialist.
I can't help it. That one was so funny though.
There was a lot of good ones.
This one. Well, I bet he's thinking about another woman. What if Conor lands that left? Look, and it's my handle as well. You can follow. Look.
It's a little bit blurry.
Yeah, it's blurry.
You got some notifications.